I don't know how to describe it other than like a demon type of sound.
But it's silhouetted, hulking, every bit of 5.5 feet wide, 13 to 14 foot tall, pitch black.
The one thing that ran through my mind when I had this encounter was I don't have a big enough gun.
Your host, two-time witness and field researcher for more than 40 years, William Jevning. Welcome to Creek Devil.
I happened to find your radio site last night and listened to most, if not all, of your radio shows consecutively with no sleep lol. It was a pleasure to hear you two guys talk about a subject most people find unbelievably absurd. I am not one of those closed-minded individuals, as I have had 5 encounters in various places, some of which I didn't realize until recently. Tuning into your radio, and finding out you both are from the same state, and in fact the same geo area as myself, inspired me to contact you concerning my last encounter that happened in a place I would have never thought possible. To give you a short background of myself, I am from Vancouver, Washington and grew up on a 6.5-acre piece of land in Hazel Dell near Highway 99 off of Minnehaha, and at the end of 17th Avenue. I have been many times up to the area of Mt. St. Helens, the East Fork of the Lewis River, and the Tuttle River, just to name a few amongst many. Now that I have bored you, I will get to the point. I moved to Canada after marrying my wife, who is a Canadian, about 13 years ago. We first moved to Vancouver, Canada, where we lived there for 4 years before moving to Abbotsford, BC, and after that moved to Saskatoon, Saskatchewan a little after 2 years ago. Me being from a place that has so much to offer, such as forests, mountains, lakes, rivers, and trees, find this place to be mostly flat and farmland for miles, except when traveling north for about an hour and a half, trees. We went to Prince Albert National Park in June of 2012 for a 7-day campout which included my wife, 2 daughters, and a female pit bull. After finding the lake and site we wanted to set our large hotel tent up, we did so. Upon getting things set up, I checked out our campsite a little more, finding we had sight above a deep valley that I could hear water running down, but found it too steep to attempt to transverse down. There was a large fir tree trunk located about 40 feet from the back of our tent that had a game trail alongside of its 4-foot wide base, and it had went toward the valley I had mentioned earlier. Just behind that I had found smaller trees lying across the trail, 3 or 4 of them crossing on top of each other, but leaving approximately a 3-foot space between them and the ground, giving room to crawl if one wished to. But I had earlier, upon our first arriving there, felt uncomfortable about that area and its tree trunk for some unknown reason, and in fact had stared at it for some time before setting up camp. My youngest daughter found a pile of large dung at the edge of the trail and the graveled campsite. Its consistency was like jellied. Not wanting to step into it, I had managed to only move it a couple of feet, away from the edge of both the trail and gravel. Later I had found it strange our dog would not go near that area at all, even when she needed to relieve herself. That being said, I realized she never went far from whoever she was by, the entire time we were there. On our 4th or 5th night, and staying up late with my wife waiting for the campfire to die out, she had excused herself and went into the tent to undress and get into the double high-air bed she so wanted to sleep on. Yeah, right, camping. I found myself feeling uneasy, as if I was being watched. I endured and tried to dismiss it altogether, but couldn't leave the fire quite yet. About an half hour, I went to bed, sometime late night, or early morning. The sun was not up. I and my older daughter awoke to something on the tree side of the tent, opposite side of us both, something slide by and touching the tent. I told my daughter, after her asking me if I heard it, quite loudly I might say, that it was a small animal running between the tent and a small tree that was 8 inches from the tent base. We both went to sleep. The second night after that, after we all had gotten to sleep, again late night, my wife awoke to something pushing into the tent, and in fact had touched her head when doing so, then slid down the entire length of it to the end, all the time pushing in heavily. She tried to awake me with no success as I was snoring away. The next day, after being strongly looked upon as I had murdered our dog or something, I asked her what was wrong. She then told me about the something touching her and pushing in on the tent so heavily that it literally was above her head, and her trying to shake me awake. Missed that one, lol. She then proceeded to inform me that I was to sleep on the outside edge of the mattress for the remaining time we were there. Contemplating the issue, I had heard late after going to bed that night the cooking pans that were cleaned and stacked inside of each other and placed on top of the park table and cook stove, being picked up, or something, as I heard a slight tink, but upon inspecting them in the morning, found they had not been moved, as far as I could tell, so I just dismissed it entirely. Until my wife told me of the situation of that night visit. Now usually I awake to anything that is what you might say out of place and doesn't belong there. No matter where I am, I for some reason have a keen second sense, and that has worked well for me for years. I also have something that causes animals to come close to me, and even had a deer come and sniff the back of my neck while sitting directly in front of a fire late at night. Weird crap like that has happened to me throughout my life, so initially I am not scared, nor shocked of anything. When I was a teen, I saw at heavy dusk a large black outline-shaped person cross the tracks I was walking on and up the embankment in front of me. Thought it strange, as it wasn't any place someone would go, nothing but trees and brush. Another sighting was the same, but witnessed just for a second or so in the back on our property, someone going to the edge, and over the embankment towards the tracks. Both happened on the same tracks and within 800 yards or so. My eldest daughter wants to go back to the same campground and spot, at the closest time we went before, to try and gift feed, and possibly get more responses. I am inclined to do that, but won't try and take pictures. What is your advice?
Thanks for listening to this episode of Creek Devil. If you or anyone you know has had an encounter with these creatures, please contact us at williamjevning@yahoo.com. That's William, Jevning, @yahoo.com. All communication is confidential. Join us for another program next week. And until then, keep your eyes open out there.